course of South African governance in the post-apartheid era. Corruption is rampant at all levels, from the politicians to the police. The police are comprised of mostly black Africans who are hostile towards whites and treat the whites unfavorably. They do not care about solving crimes committed against white people or in stopping black-on-black violence either, and are simply opportunists looking to gain riches easily. Just as any concerned citizen under attack would do, the whites will call the police when they are being broken into or stolen from, but the police are just as corrupt as the thieves. They will cover for the criminals and look the other way while whites are being targeted. Now the country has regressed to third world status in a matter of years. The situation only continues to get worse for all residing in South Africa. South Africa went from being a beautiful first world country with top-of-the-line hospitals and a very high standard of living for not only whites, but blacks as well, to a third world hellhole. Before the end of apartheid, work was plentiful for both blacks and whites. Their streets were safe. Now everything is falling apart. Due to enforced affirmative action laws where non-whites are given preferential treatment, despite their capabilities to perform the job, South Africa has experienced a rapid decline in all of its industries, military, and infrastructure, with rolling blackouts where the power will be shut off for hours at a time. This happens almost daily. This is now commonplace in black-run South Africa, posing yet another security risk to South Africans. If white South Africans have a bit of money, they can barricade themselves behind electric fences and barbed wire to protect themselves from home invasions. But during a rolling blackout, which happens very frequently, these fences are rendered useless, as are the security systems. Some of the most horrific and unimaginable horrors take place when they are vulnerable like this, especially since gun laws make it virtually impossible to obtain a firearm. Without these security measures, the whites are sitting ducks. Whites are being murdered in the most sadistic and sickening ways imaginable. They are not just killed, but are tortured for days. For example, a group of blacks will wait for the children to come home from school and will tie the children up. Once the mother arrives at home, they will tie her up as well. They will wait for the father to come home and then tie him up also. They will then begin to torture and rape the mother and children in front of the father while he is tied up, unable to help. They will pour hot oil on the children, rape them with broken bottles, disembowel them, and light them on fire. They will often leave the father alive, so he has to live with these horrific images replaying through his mind for the rest of his life.
Around 3 o'clock in the morning, suddenly there was, "Mama, I need your help," at our bedside.
Liv sleeps in her clothes because she expects to be woken up at any time.
It's no longer coming home in a serene place where just everything falls off.
I'm coming home on a beautiful day, sun is shining.
I have friends who are nervous about coming to my house.
And every single window is locked. 2 doors in front are locked.
Stay locked in my room if I'm alone. I don't go outside.
They broke through the glass on this window, trying to get out as fast as they could.
I opened my eyes, switched on my pedestal light, and looked into the face of a man.
4 men wearing balaclavas in big, thick clubs.
I didn't have a front door.
Looking up at me like this.
I was lying flat on the ground.
He held my wrist very strongly.
I went to my son, and it took a while to realize that he was bleeding.
I recognized the voices, but they also recognized me.
And I think at that point, this bell was ringing, I was screaming, you were hitting, the alarm was blaring, time was ticking.
He had this gash on his cheek, and I tried to stop it bleeding.
They came to kill Craig.
No matter how hard I pushed it, it just would not stop.
And to rape me.
And I think 5-10 minutes, it stopped moving.
There are an estimated 50+ murders per day in South Africa. These are not crimes of opportunity. The majority of the time, the blacks will not steal one single item. The whites are not just murdered because they want their farms or property, but they are murdered simply due to a severe hatred toward the white people, and it involves torture, humiliation, and rape. The white farmers are the ones who are particularly targeted. They are more easily targeted than the other whites because most of the time they live in isolation and are far away from any neighbors that could intervene. Another reason for some of the horrors inflicted upon the innocent white children of South Africa is that the witch doctors of the African tribes will actually tell their people that in order to cure AIDS, they need to rape white babies, and the blacks actually do this. It is not just the incredible amount of murder that is leading to the genocide of whites in South Africa, but the anti-white policies mentioned already. White men were forced from their jobs first, but soon after, the white women were not able to get jobs either. With no help from the world and no jobs to make a living, many of these impoverished whites were forced into squatter camps, where they live in makeshift shacks on top of a trash heap. The squatter camps that the whites are forced to live in are some of the worst conditions you can imagine. The government has provided them with only a few steel walls to erect a small structure, although these structures have no windows, ventilation, or flooring. 300+ people have to share one outhouse and one water spigot. They are unable to grow any food for themselves due to the drought and lack of clean water. They are given no help from their government or from the UN and other humanitarian groups. Babies are born on top of a trash heap with hardly any food to eat.
What is your name?
John.
John, how old are you?
11 years old.
11 years old. I hear that you had a break-in in your home.
Yes, they stole my bike and my dad's generators and his stool.
They stole your bike, generator and his tool. So now you don't have a bicycle anymore?
Yes.
How did you feel when they broke in?
I was very sad. They stealing my bike and I was very sad.
You were very sad. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Were you scared?
Yes.
Oh no. Well, I thank you for talking to me, and we'll try and make a plan and see if we can't find you a new bicycle.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sweetheart. Hi, what is your name?
Enrico.
Enrico. How old are you?
15, about 16 this year.
This year, okay. Enrico, how do you feel about what's going on in South Africa as a young person growing up here?
Well, to be honest, I'm actually scared of what my future's gonna be like.
Is it? Why do you say that?
There's too much black people and not enough white people in this country.
And why does it affect you so much? Is it because of the violence and the farm murders and the home invasions?
Yes.
How do you feel about the farmers that are being butchered like this?
It makes me angry. And I don't want it to happen to everyone, except that they must stop killing us, they must stop helping us and not want to kill us.
And how do you feel about the education in South Africa?
There must also be enough education for the blacks as there are for the whites.
You want the same equal opportunities, is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Okay. How is your home life? Does your dad work?
No,
he lost his job.
Yeah, February.
In February. Oh, that's awful. So I presume you guys suffer and struggle with food every day.
Yes.
How do you feel when you see your parents struggle to support you guys?
It makes me sad.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
A motor mechanic.
A motor mechanic, wow. Do you think that you'll find a job in South Africa after studies?
No.
Why do you say that?
Just because the black people are taking over all the jobs in this country.
So you see no future for yourself here? And if given the opportunity, would you, after your studies maybe, would you want to go and live and work in another country? No.
I'd rather work here, but if I must, I will go work here.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for talking to me, and I wish your family all the best of luck.
The squatter camps are often flooded during the rainy season, which renders their small structures useless. When people are told about the conditions that these whites are forced to live in, they tell them that they either deserve it or that they should just leave if they don't like it. These people don't even have enough money to buy a loaf of bread, let alone a plane ticket to a new country, or enough money to start a new life for themselves. There are an estimated 80 white squatter camps in the Pretoria area alone.
We are fighting for our language, we are fighting for jobs. So my feeling is that we are only fighting all the time to survive.
Across South Africa as a whole, there are an estimated 400,000 whites living in these conditions. Census figures suggest an estimated 8,000 white households live in shacks. Since the world has fallen silent on this ongoing genocide, the white South Africans have nowhere to go and are forced to rot away without food, water, safety, or shelter. Genocide Watch has declared genocide in South Africa, and the whites are currently in stage 6. There are only 8 stages. Black students are burning down their universities and attacking white students for colonizing their education. White students are attacked and harassed just for attending university. These whites are facing complete extinction, and the world has turned its back on them. There is a complete media blackout when it comes to the genocide in South Africa. Only a few brave outlets dare to cover this situation. The powers that be wish for this bloodbath to be kept in the dark so that white people around the world won't learn the truth and try to help, or even realize that what is happening in South Africa is now coming to their own doorstep. The powers that be have the exact same fate in store for every single white country. This is not just about annihilating whites from South Africa, but exterminating whites off the face of this earth for good.